People who have MPD, who have been ravaged and have had their lives destroyed forever as little children and as adults, are owned. They are property of the cult. They are called upon later on to do various jobs. They are sent to take various people down. I have had personal experience with this. They also, in many ways, are programmed to suicide at a relatively early age. You'll find many of them have had multiple suicide attempts because the cult wants the evidence to go away. Once the little girl and little boy grow up, they're not really needed. Some are kept around, as I said, to be used.
I said, you can't ride a butterfly. He goes, that's right. You can't ride a butterfly. It won't let you. So he reached into the glove compartment. And this part is true. This is exactly true. He reached in, he pulled out another butterfly. And he goes, butterflies will not let you ride them alone. They will only want us to do things together. So I will ride my butterfly and you will ride yours. I said, what are you talking about? And it's true. He sat on his butterfly and it didn't kill the butterfly. I said, and the butterfly was still alive, moving his leg in it. I said, all right, I'll sit on mine. And when I sat on mine, the cab disappeared. Wow, that's exploding, Frank. We're calling a train. The cab disappeared. The wind shot the velvet. I can't hold it. And I was riding the butterfly. And all the suits were flying off men. And nobody was judging each other by how they dressed, by how they walked. And nobody was saying they had the answer. Nobody had the rules. People were saying what they wanted. And scorpions flew out of the glove compartment whipping their tails.
Wards, in counseling centers, churches are showing up with them left and right. When I say Los Angeles or New York or Cleveland, then we're talking thousands over a 30-year period in those cities. Now, these are the victims.
Sure.
But you can't be one of them unless somebody made you. Which means in every city where the victims are, even if there was just one, somebody was behind the selecting of them,
yes,
the abuse, the splitting, and all the rest.
A group was at work, clearly.
Absolutely. And
ride the butterfly, you're the scorpion. Ride the butterfly, you're the scorpion. And we're riding the butterfly, and everyone was just looking at each other and not feeling religion or ideology or theology, just looking, not feeling who's right and who's wrong, just staring at each other, just looking right in each other's fucking eyes.
And that's what we've tracked. That's what we engaged. And once we begin to go after it, track, sure enough, we find individuals that are very angry, and there's a methodology in their changing handlers, and there's a whole world to this, Jeff. It is big, and we're seeing it on the field as far as the shooters, and but it's also not explained well in the psychiatric community as far as the terminology.
Rick Shapiro, everybody! Rick Shapiro!
I would, if I might suggest one thing, and I've been told this, many of the key psychiatrists and psychologists who deal with victims are in fact part of the cult to control the damage and to keep the lid on the whole thing.
Exactly, control and keep the lid. And for the psychological community to say that they don't know a whole lot, or it's rare, or it's debatable.
They're lying through their teeth.
Sure, and we can go back and see, we don't have to use our literature or what we think. We can go back to 1947, G.H. Estabrooks, who wrote a book called Hypnotism. He was a world-renowned, I say the bad way, but world-renowned psychiatrist, psychologist, I mean the world over, hired by U.S. military. In his book, Jeff, he explains how they've learned to cause and to create multiple personalities or alter personalities in soldiers. He defines then how they will program or use those sub-persons without the main person knowing. Assassins, reconnaissance agents, infiltrators, sowers of disinformation. And then in that same literature, the book, in 1947, he says, what we need to do is create enough of these kind of individuals placed in every single department of U.S. military to have a hidden sleeper fifth column. Those are his words.
Wow. All right. And this is again, what year?
1947. That's how far back it goes.
All right. Well, it goes back probably thousands of years, but ultimately in the modern age, that's a good 70 years worth, very close to it. This is now something that has to be considered a cold science. It is not guesswork. It is not just throwing things out there and hoping it might work. They know exactly how to do this. The victim, the young person, male or female, who was raped, and that's how they do it. They break them down before their personalities are completely formed by the age of 6 or 7. The victims never know that they are, in fact, multiples. They don't have immediate access to that. Sometimes, once in a while, they get hold of that and are able to deal with it a little bit. But quickly, if the cult finds out about it, they're brought back under control. This is not something of programming where the person needs to be picked up, needs to be taken somewhere and programmed. They can do this, I am told, over the telephone. In fact, they'll program a victim with a code word. Let's say circus. The victim will get a phone call. Hello? Circus. Circus. And the victim goes into a trance. And the programming begins. They don't have to show up physically. And the person will never know, never, that they have been completely co-opted and controlled by the darkest forces of evil. Is that a fair statement?
It's clearly a fair statement, and we've been in homes where we were hiding victims out, where we, in the early days when we didn't know enough, but phone calls just like that would come in. Sometimes, like the phrase that you just mentioned, a similar phrase, or numbers, or just the tones. Just simply tones.
Yeah, sure.
A series of tones will trigger a shutdown, will trigger a runner inside, will trigger someone inside to go to a meet place to meet them. Very, very sophisticated. Even, and here's what's, even a mic, like we heard a noise. It just sounded like a blip that came in. Slowing it down, what it is a speeded up message. Sometimes in Spanish or a different language even. But it's just a coded, it's a full message, but speeded up. A certain personality can hear it. They come forward, and then they get the message. And just like you said, we've observed this with our own eyes to see it happen.
So it's a burst output of instruction that the subconscious can pull in and decipher once the subconscious has been put into the proper trance configuration to take in data. They could just zap it right in.
Absolutely.
All right, see, this is, folks, this is the real deal. This is the biggest secret. And there is nothing more tragic than someone who thinks she or he is not programmed, but who is exhibiting and acting 1,000% in perfect configuration with what a programmed operation does. When that happens, you have to think programming. And these people, again, can be the nicest people on the planet one minute and turn into a raging lunatic the next, and go into some confrontational mind game the next. They have it all. They understand how to use reverse psychology. They understand how to project everything on someone else. They understand the idea of projecting their own sicknesses and weaknesses, like psychopathy and sociopathy, onto other people and try to make it stick. It's called misdirection. They are the masters of misdirection. That's part of being a mind-controlled, guided missile, an assassin.
This poem. On the most amazing day, you were born and you were died. We was waiting for you everywhere, and you surprised us by showing up everywhere else. Where there once were bottles, now only bottle caps hang in mid-joint, waiting for the air to turn into red wine and cheeseburgers. At the Church of Our Lady of Tomatoes, they can be redeemed for $5 a piece. Now that you have your own street named after you, maybe they will get you a car. But you know you need the okay of the Latin Insomniacs motorcycle gang without motorcycles to set up toll booths at both sides of the block so that
writers that he has always, worshipped from a certain era who hung out in Paris together.
Hello, Miss Tina Harris. Woohoo!
Do you remember what it says on the New York Post Office?
No.
Something like, neither snow nor sleet nor gloom of night can stay these trusty couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds.
I'm going to start over. Just don't ever stop shooting.
Art
Setting up
is a
poles
spiritual
at both ends
quest,
of the block so that
but
once you pay to
the vampire is a new priest,
also pay to get
and there's no point in being a
unless
poetry
the
martyr
culvert keeper
in
is
a
at
world
the
with
other
no
end
faith.
of the one-way street that
I
never
die
ends,
so that
and
Cicciolina's
you get to
asshole
stay forever
may be
in
raised
the
up to the
bodega
heavens,
that doesn't sell
so that
anything
Puppy may
because it is
blossom
made out of loose
and
joints
teach us all
and condoms.
what
And the only
Pavlov's
way
dog.
you can get in is to smoke your way in and screw your way out. And when you drive your black helicopter over the street that has your name,
Ritual, satanic, sexual abuse, tools, people whose insides have been literally gutted from them.
Because after he left, then the black helicopters came in, and I was just so sensitized to the noise around me because his voice, his whole intention, his whole vibration was just to turn. He told me, he called the piece Prelude to the Apocalypse, but I was too fucking...
Programming means they're on a specific loop. They've only been injected with one concept, one mind, one thought. But in engaging them in discussion begins to help break that down. Experts in weapons, whereas the main person may not know a thing.
Now, let's go back to one other area. The target,
Making me realize that I was risking all my life for a girl that I did just for something more than 1 week.
has multiple personalities will never know that they are under control unless somehow the controllers want them to, tell them, let it slip. But there used to be
You
markers.
never quite recover
Oh,
from
missing
that
time was
sort
a
of
big marker.
assault.
But as we said earlier, that's history. They don't use that technique anymore all the time. It's far beyond that.
and you see the great balls of fire.
This is what you call poetic shock and awe. It cluster bombs your inner ear until they shrapnel all through your vibration.
that are being lit up in your name. And you see the outrageous acrobatic screwing that is going on in your name. You may very well want to change your name. But you can still pick up that notebook that you left in the telephone booth that time.
Because, he's like Hiroshima, just him alive. But him working in with the locals on my territory, it was over the top. That was over the top. You know, that's not a Truman Show. That really is Apocalypse Now. That really is a serious and fierce form of satanic ritual abuse. And yet, because we have no spirituality, no vocabulary for this, we're so programmed. We can't fight it. Because once you've opened your eyes, you're speaking in a language that, like, 99% of the culture's not speaking. Well, that's certainly if you're in Sydney. Sydney is a devil's playground. It makes New York look like Disneyland. That's why it was so hard to come home. But home is where it started, and home is where I have to face it, and where we all have to face it.
The first generation are between 55, 65. They all had children, and here's what we found over the years. Second generation, third generation, and now we're dealing with, if there's no interruption, this continues, it's automatic to the next generation and their children, and it's done to them. And it's getting
so
more
it's multi-generational. They stay right in there like a bloodline. They continue to do this to each new generation. That's what you're saying.
It is bloodline. I mean, to hear all of them, and we've had well over 300, and we're talking thousands of hours of communication and time spent in almost 30 years.
Wow.
So we have a lot of time on the field. I've had one here at my home a week ago, and we have someone we're supposed to call late night tonight on the West Coast and to deal with them. So, and we have requests left and right. So there are those who are breaking down and beginning to find out or beginning to realize something. And if they get the right counselor, they get the right person, engagement can occur, and changes and healing and being set free can occur.
Deprogramming.
But sure, it does involve that. And in our case, and again, in almost all of the cases, whether people call it, now some will say they have empowerment or they have energy. We engage the entities, and they're very, very powerful. For example, they split a new personality. They call it raw personality, blank personality, in which they begin to program, speak to, train. Then they want to summon, in the satanic side of it, they want to summon spirits to put in and on, to kind of crystallize that programming and have that dark spirit then bind that whole plot and purpose together. That's why when they switch personalities, they can kill seemingly without conscious, seemingly reveling in it, in total destruction with no sense of no sense of remorse, no sense of, in other words, the only way we've found to stop them when they switch like this, they're, all of a sudden attacking.
When I open the window, the world rushes in, but I'm already gone. I'm not there. The world looks all over, but always forgets behind the door.
Behind the door.
The poem that's
they've been purposely placed in churches, counseling centers, law enforcement, military, governmental structures. And usually what I tell folks now is that if you have somebody that has come to you, like out of nowhere, they've just kind of shown up, please understand that you've already been targeted. They've been sent. They have a sender or a group that have sent them in. They've got an agenda.
Okay, so if somebody were to contact me out of the blue, and I would find that person to be the most wonderful person I could ever imagine, I should beware.
If you begin to see other things occur, sure, because the upfront person is made to be completely amnesiac and very Well, there's methodology. We put a thing out years ago on the methods of the infiltration, which is part of it is they want to assimilate. They want to become your friend. They want to like what you like. They want to give you gifts. They want to compliment you. They're building a connection to the point of vulnerability. All the while, they're taking information, gathering information, and in most of the cases that we dealt with on this level, then they are targeting through what most even Christians don't even understand. Ritual warfare, the summoning of spirits to send them from a distance or transmit them.
They want to take your soul. They want to control everything about you. It's all about control and takedown, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's the nature of this radical evil. It's really, it's, engaging the individual personalities, engaging the ones that are demonized, engaging the demonic spirit. This is not random. Over the years, we have seen again and again, as we've dug really deep inside, that whether we believe this or not, they believe they're part of a new agenda. Collectively, because they're in Ireland, they're in England, they're in Germany, they're in Canada, they're in Australia. So I keep asking everybody, why so many? Why in all those nations? Why generations now of them? And why the hiddenness for now, in a sense, but yet underneath this volatile, violent, and highly trained ability to create the killings, the chaos, the slaughters. Well, Jeff, they say there's an agenda, that they're part of the coming chaos, and they all lust or desire a new order altogether. That's what they're about. They
want abject control. It's all about control. That's what they want. I see it. All right. Hold on, Russ. We'll come right back. Fascinating conversation. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
1 week.
Whoa! I knew something special going on here. It's still got that new car
because
smell.
These people do not mess around. I have never seen more radical changes in personalities in a matter of moments. I have never seen anything like the kinds of excesses and bizarre behaviors that make no sense logically, intellectually, or in any other fashion. And it doesn't matter how much you try to be the good guy or the good girl and help the male or female involved.
Hello, Percy Dove Tonsils here. I am a creation of Ernie Kovacs, and I was the first poet that Bob Holdman ever saw. You'll notice my nice smoking jacket and my eyebrows and my bottle glasses that I can't say all of, and my cigarette holder. And my martini. You'll notice all of this. Because now I, Percy of the Dove Tonsils family, shall read the inscription, the dedication, and the poem to Wednesday Kennedy that Bob has written in his new book. Thank God he's above the title. With special guest appearance by Papa Suso. Papa's very happy about that, making the cover. Oh, and so the dedication, it looks like this, and it sounds like this. Wednesday's child is full of wonder. One day, someday, Wednesday, tomorrow day, every day, your day, our day. Direct from Poet's Corner, sing this one back to me immediately, forever. Not an affair, but an episode, and now he's doing the dishes. Water mermaid, air lorikeet, fire your hair, earth massage. Could you please take good care of my tongue, please? Still here, writing, what else? By the way, if you do find that sock, ... And on piano, roller in. Are these the keys you're looking for? I forgot my name. Love, oh yeah, Bob. There it is.
That was beautiful. Will you tell Bob I loved it?
I will speak to Bob very soon on his way to the interview, on his way to lunch with Philip Johnston, composer, on his way to the whatever Meriden Apartments in Haymarket. Is Haymarket a suburb?
It's just around the corner. It's Chinatown. It's another name for Chinatown.
And then he will be on his way to the university for the big conversation with Bob Holman. And then back to the Meriden Apartments for study for tomorrow's shoot, and then sleep, perchance to dream, only to awake and hit the road, Jack, off to Darwin, where hopefully I'll meet up with Dan Davies from the band, and we'll gather our forces and go buy a ditch.
Excuse me, sir. I would love to have your picture and your sound. You're gonna use me in the movies? Yes, movie. My phone number? If I'm not here, the fellas know where to find me. Ring my agent. Mr. Joe. Thank you very much.